The story begins with a girl named Yuri. She is kind-hearted, caring, and always ready to help anyone in need. It's the first day of high school, and everyone is rushing to get to their classes on time. But Yuri, being thoughtful as always, stops to help an elderly woman, and by the time she reaches school, she is already a little late. Despite that, she is welcomed warmly. Today is her first day, but the teacher immediately appoints Yuri as the class monitor. The students clap and cheer for her, admiring her responsible nature. Just then, another student enters the classroom. His appearance draws attention instantly. It seems he has just been discharged from the hospital. His condition is pitiable. One of his eyes is blind, his hand is bandaged, and he walks cautiously. Everyone in class becomes curious, whispering among themselves about what might have happened to him. The teacher asks the boy, Yano, about his condition, and he explains that he had collided with a bus. He speaks softly, almost apologetically, and the teacher asks him to sit next to Yuri. Yuri finds him a little strange but does not speak to him at that moment. The next morning, Yano comes to school again, still injured. The teacher looks concerned and asks him what happened this time. Yano explains quietly that he had fallen down the stairs. Yuri watches silently, worried. But this is only the beginning of Yano's series of misfortunes. The next day, his head is covered with multiple bandages. This time, a flower pot had fallen on him. And the day after that, his hand is injured because he was bitten by a dog. Yuri thinks to herself that this boy is incredibly unlucky. She cannot ignore his situation. Yuri, being someone who cares deeply for others, decides to follow him and check if he is truly okay. She gathers her friends and starts observing Yano from a distance. They follow him through the streets, curious yet concerned. One of her friends whispers nervously, questioning whether Yano might be lying about his misfortune. Yuri shakes her head, her eyes fixed on him. No, she thinks. He really is in trouble, and I need to make sure he is safe. Suddenly, Yano trips while walking. He falls to the ground, hitting his head against a wooden sign. Trying to recover his balance, his foot slips, and he begins to fall into an open gutter. Yuri and her friends watch helplessly, witnessing this misfortune live. Yano struggles, trying not to fall, but despite his efforts, he slips into the gutter. Yuri's heart aches seeing him like this, and she feels compelled to follow him all the way home. While walking behind him, Yuri is unaware that she has stepped into the middle of the road. A car speeds toward her. Before anything terrible can happen, Yano reacts instinctively, pulling her out of the way just in time. Their eyes meet. There is a moment of silence, charged with emotion. Yano speaks softly, I thought you were following me. Yuri nods, her voice shaking slightly, yes, I was. I was worried because you have been coming to school injured every day. I am the class monitor, so I felt responsible. Your life seems so full of misfortune, and I wanted to make sure you were safe. Yano smiles faintly, touched by her concern. Do not worry, he says. You are a good person for caring. Thank you. They share a quiet, meaningful moment before parting ways. The next morning, the students are in class as usual, but Yano is nowhere to be seen. Yuri feels a pang of worry. She asks her friend anxiously, what could have happened to him? What if something terrible occurred? The teacher arrives and delivers the news softly. Yano is at the hospital today and will not be coming to school. Yuri's heart sinks. She asks, what happened? The teacher explains that Yano collided with a truck. Hearing this, Yuri faints, overwhelmed by fear and shock. Who could survive such an accident? Determined to see him, she rushes to the hospital, thinking of the moment he had saved her life the day before. She bursts into the hospital, asking urgently, where is the boy who got hit by the truck? Just then, a voice called out. It was Yano. He was alive, safe and sound. Yuri felt a wave of relief wash over her. Who could be luckier than a boy who survived a truck collision? Yano looked at her with a faint smile and asked, Yuri, what are you doing here? She did not answer. Both of them started walking home together. Yano spoke again, quietly but sincerely, thank you for caring about me. Yuri replied calmly, it's nothing. Just keep this first aid box with you. You never know when you might need it. And if anything happens near you again, I will take care of it myself. Yano smiled and said, thank you. But I cannot accept this. I am always injured, and I don't want anyone to worry or get into trouble because of me. If you are always connected to me, your luck might turn like mine, and I do not want that. I can handle things on my own. With those words, Yano walked away. Yuri tried to stop him, but what she feared happened. She slipped and started falling. Yano quickly reacted, grabbing the collar of her shirt to stop her from falling. In the process, the buttons of his t-shirt tore and fell, leaving Yuri worried. She quickly apologized. I am so sorry. Yano could not help but laugh at the situation. Yuri then spoke softly, I want to stay around you, so I can help you. Yano looked at her, his expression gentle but pensive. Yuri, I just want to live a normal school life, he said quietly. I want to watch movies with friends, eat in the cafeteria, just live life like everyone else. Hearing his emotional words, Yuri's heart ached. She smiled softly, yes, that is simple and normal. Let's make it real. Yano looked surprised. She was the first person to genuinely care for him. Next, we see Yuri in the kitchen preparing lunch for Yano. Two small children, Hinu and Kinu, are helping her. But misfortune seems to follow Yano everywhere. Suddenly, a small fire breaks out in the kitchen. Yuri's front hair gets slightly burned, and she has to fix her hairstyle. Hinu and Kinu laugh and take photos, teasing her. Yuri finally makes it to school with her new hairstyle, holding the lunchbox for Yano. Some friends tease her, but she calmly says, it's nothing. I just want Yano to have a normal school life. Yano arrives at school, his face still marked with scratches, a routine occurrence by now. Yuri already has the first aid box ready, so he doesn't need to visit the hospital. After class, Yuri says, let's have lunch together. Yano refuses, wanting to eat alone. Yuri waits patiently, and eventually, she finds him sitting quietly, eating alone in a secluded spot. This time, she joins him, and he cannot refuse. They enjoy their meal together. Yuri's friends, Danda and Jadu, stand nearby, making sure nothing bad happens to him. Even trouble would have to ask permission to come near them. Then, as they eat on the rooftop, misfortune strikes again. Food gets stuck in Yano's throat. He falls, gasping for breath. Yuri quickly saves him, and he coughs, recovering. Even lunch cannot be simple for him. Later, students play dodgeball, where Yano's bad luck strikes again. He is constantly hit by the ball, yet he does not give up. Despite his injuries and misfortune, he stays determined. Yuri watches, ready to help, especially because she cannot bear to see him in trouble. Meanwhile, a handsome boy, Takashi, also in Yuri's class, observes everything. He is popular among the girls and notices Yuri's concern for Yano. Yuri, confused by her own feelings, is unsure how to express herself. Takashi, curious, asks her later, do you like Yano? Do you too? Are you dating? Takashi asked, trying to tease, but Yuri quickly denied it. Seizing the opportunity, Takashi confessed his feelings for Yuri. For now, she did not respond, leaving Takashi unsure if Yuri was starting to like Yano instead. The next morning, Yano arrived at school safe and sound. He told Yuri, look, today I'm not injured. Hearing this, Yuri felt a genuine wave of relief and happiness. After school, all the friends went to a restaurant to have lunch together. Just then, misfortune struck again. Yano's head hit the doorframe, and he grimaced in pain. Everyone continued eating, trying to enjoy the moment, when the handsome Takashi appeared. He sat next to Yuri, and Yano felt a pang of sadness. Takashi went to fill his drink, accidentally spilling some ketchup onto Yuri's face while eating his burger. Yuri did not notice at first, but Takashi gently wiped it off. Yuri was slightly surprised, but when Takashi explained that it was an accident, she believed him and did not get upset. Yano, seeing this scene with his own eyes, felt his heart ache. His body was always injured, but now his heart also felt wounded. He quietly left without saying a word. Yuri could not stop him. Back at school, the midterm results were announced. Yuri had achieved the top position, but Yano, unfortunately, was at the bottom. When Yuri approached him to motivate him, he walked away. She followed him, intending to invite him to the class party, but he would not even listen. Yuri blocked his path and asked gently, did I do something to upset you? Yano replied, you did nothing. Then he walked away. Yuri was left confused, unsure of what was wrong. Meanwhile, Takashi was playing baseball. He swung the bat powerfully, and the ball flew across, striking Yano directly in the head. Yano's heart was already wounded, and now his body suffered as well. Takashi, realizing his mistake, quickly brought Yano to the restaurant to apologize. During the commotion, Yano accidentally grabbed Takashi's comic diary. Finally, he realized that Takashi had been spending time bringing Yuri around for quite some time. Now it was clear, both boys cared for the same girl. One lived safely, the other endured constant misfortune. They waited to see whose feelings Yuri would accept. The next morning, all students arrived at school. Yano also came, looking unusually disheveled. Yuri exclaimed, "Why do you look like this?" "What happened?" Yano explained, "I was walking, and my head got stuck in a tree." Yuri quickly tried to remove leaves from his head but paused, not wanting anyone to misinterpret the situation. The teacher arrived, announcing that today would be a reading session and that everyone had to bring their textbooks. Yano did not have his book, whether because he truly forgot or simply wanted to be close to Yuri. Yuri sat next to him. If Yano liked her, he would have to make a move soon, otherwise, things could get more complicated. Their hands accidentally brushed against the same textbook. Yuri immediately pulled back, saying, "Sorry," while her friends quietly smiled, understanding what had just happened. Takashi watched the scene with concern, and Yano became nervous. To make matters worse, Yano's bad luck struck again. His finger got injured from the textbook, bleeding slightly. Yuri, already carrying her first aid kit, immediately helped him. Seeing her care, Yano suddenly said softly, "Yuri, I like you." The words froze her in place. When she regained her senses, she jumped up from her seat, shouting in surprise. The entire class turned to look. Yano remained quiet, his heart pounding. After class, Yuri grabbed Yano's hand, insisting they talk privately to clarify everything. Finally, it was just the two of them. Yuri asked gently, "A little while ago, what did you mean by the locket?" Yano looked into her eyes and replied simply, "It means, I like you." Yuri asked softly, "You like me? Do you want the full story, Yuri?" Yano asked softly. Yuri nodded, curious. Yano took a deep breath and admitted, "I've never felt this way before, not like this. I don't even know if what I'm feeling is love or something else. I said it by mistake. Speaking up in class was awkward, so please forgive me." Hearing this, Yuri's heart melted. She smiled, understanding him completely, and said, "I like you too, Yano." The boy blushed furiously. His heart seemed to overflow with sweetness and warmth. For the first time, both of them had confessed their feelings directly to each other. But would their love story now flow smoothly, or would new challenges arise? Only time would tell. Yuri didn't hide anything from her friends. She invited both of them to her home and announced, "I'm going on a date with Yano." Hearing this, her friends cheered, thrilled that Yuri had finally fallen in love. Yuri began preparing for their date, with her brother, sister, and friends helping her choose the perfect outfit. Everything was set, they only needed to go to the movie. Yuri arrived first at the romantic location, adjusting her hair, when unlucky Yano suddenly appeared. She quickly hid her face, but Yano smiled and said, "You look really cute." Embarrassed, she blushed, and they went to watch the movie together. Even on this romantic first date, Yano's bad luck followed him. He tripped on the stairs but thankfully wasn't seriously hurt. They enjoyed the movie peacefully and returned home safely. Later, Yuri and Yano exchanged diaries to get to know each other better. Their relationship gradually began to blossom into love. They spent a lot of time together, and for now, everything seemed fine. But their love story wouldn't progress easily, many twists were still to come. Summer vacation began, and both Yano and Yuri looked happy. They could now spend more time together. Yuri wanted to go to the summer festival with her friends, but this time, she refused to go without Yano. After school, they walked home together. Yuri had written some questions in her diary that she wanted Yano to answer. Confused, Yano thought carefully about how to answer. The summer festival started, and Yuri arrived with her friends, dressed beautifully. Takashi was already there, but he didn't enjoy festivals. Meanwhile, late boy, Yano, arrived, already injured. Yet, he complimented Yuri, saying, "You look really cute in your yukata." Yuri blushed, and they all began enjoying the festival together. During the festival, Yano got separated from Yuri for a while. She panicked and felt a wave of trauma, fearing she might lose him. Then, Yano returned, and Yuri felt immense relief. They didn't go home immediately but continued enjoying the festival with everyone. At one point, Yano asked Yuri to extend her left hand. To her surprise, he placed a ring on her finger. He had gone out to buy it, leaving suddenly so she wouldn't see. Yuri wasn't expecting such a romantic gift. She was stunned but thrilled and kept the ring safely. Takashi, watching this, realized he had no chance and shifted his feelings elsewhere, turning his attention toward Natasha, his childhood friend. Meanwhile, Yano and Yuri returned home together, enjoying the festival more than ever. Yano now set a new goal: learning to ride a bicycle. Yuri playfully scolded him, teasing that if he started riding, she'd have to visit the hospital daily. Yano laughed and began practicing, while Yuri promised to support him. As they chatted, Yano asked about Yuri's necklace. She explained softly, "This necklace belonged to my mom. I always wear it because I feel incomplete without it." They were talking when Yano suddenly froze. He saw someone, Asami, a girl who knew all his secrets. The beautiful interruption had arrived. She asked, "Yano, do you still cover your left eye?" Hearing this, Yano silently walked away, refusing to answer. Yuri, following him, stayed close. Summer vacation ended, and the free-spirited birds returned to school. Camp preparations began. Yano didn't want to go, but he agreed for Yuri's sake. The teacher arrived with a new student, none other than Asami. Both Yano and Yuri were nervous. Yano finally had to explain the truth. In a heartfelt scene, Asami and Yano met. She had studied with him in middle school before moving away and now returned. She asked, "Are you still obsessed with that curse?" Her words revealed the reason for Yano's constant misfortune. Yuri, quietly listening, felt sorrow for Yano. One friend whispered, "Is that why he gets hurt every day? Could it really be a curse?" As Asami prepared to leave, Yuri suddenly called out. Yano realized she had overheard the conversation. A misunderstanding began to form. On the way back from school, Yano finally opened up to Yuri. He explained, "My right and left eyes have different colors. In middle school, Asami accidentally injured my right eye. Now I cover it because anyone who sees it seems to get hurt." Hearing half of this, Yuri understood. Then, in an unlucky twist, Yano slipped and fell face first into some bushes. Yuri rushed to help him. At the same time, his iPad slipped from his hands and fell. Yuri finally saw his face fully and realized he really was okay. His eyes were intact. He wasn't blind in one eye. Yano quickly covered his left eye with his hand to prevent her from being affected by any bad luck. Now, the truth about the curse was out, but would it really be a curse, or just misfortune? Only time would reveal the next chapter of Yano and Yuri's journey. Yuri was lost in her thoughts as she walked home, her mind swirling with worry. She whispered to herself, "You don't need to hide your eyes anymore. You're already perfect. Now everyone is going to fall in love with you." She walked along the road, unaware of the work going on ahead. The workers tried to stop her, but it was too late. Suddenly, she fell into an open manhole. The curse had struck again. Yuri was seriously injured, her finger fractured. Her friends rushed to her side, and soon, Yano arrived as well. Yuri tried to comfort him. But Yano understood immediately. The curse had begun to affect her because of him. He whispered, "Yuri, this is all happening because of me. I have to stay away from you." And with that, he walked away, leaving Yuri feeling deeply saddened. Meanwhile, preparations for the summer camp continued. Each group would have 6 students. When Yuri and Yano were placed in the same group, Janu deliberately removed his name from the list. He quietly explained, "I'll join another group." It was clear he was doing this on purpose to keep Yuri safe. He could not bear to see his love in danger. Yuri was heartbroken. She sat silently, unable to speak, overwhelmed with sadness. Finally, she approached Yano and asked gently, "Why did you do this?" Yano spoke softly, his voice tinged with pain. "For a long time, this has always happened to me. Anyone connected to me inevitably gets hurt. That's why I keep everyone away from me, to make sure no one gets hurt because of me." Yuri shook her head and said, "Yano, this is not your fault. I wasn't careful, and that's why it happened. This has nothing to do with you. How can this be a curse?" Hearing this brought back old painful memories for Yano. The day Asami had seen his left eye, she had been injured. From that moment, the rumor spread. Anyone who looks at Yano's left eye will be harmed. Now, in the present, Yuri pleaded, "Are you going to spend your whole life alone like this? That's not right." Yano tried to walk away, but as he did, he tripped on the stairs and fell. Yuri rushed to help him, but he shouted, "Don't come near me." And he walked away again. Later, in the cafeteria, we see Yuri sitting with Takashi. Her mind was elsewhere, her heart heavy with worry. She couldn't focus properly on anything. Takashi, noticing her distraction, realized that something serious was troubling her. He understood, finally, what had happened and how deep her feelings for Yano had grown. Yuri smiled softly as she whispered to herself, "Yano needs you." Hearing this, her heart felt lighter, even as she noticed Yano's state, his heart broken, his body wounded. For the first time, he had fallen in love, and now he was forced to stay away from the one he cared about most. The thought pained him deeply. Yuri approached him gently, saying, "Yano, you're injured. Wait here, I'll put a bandage on you." Yuri saw both of them together. What she had intended to do herself, someone else was now doing. Yano's heart shattered. Feeling helpless, he walked away, leaving Yuri and him separated, misunderstandings hanging heavy between them. Meanwhile, Yuri sat beside Takashi at the campfire, her heart weighed down with sorrow. She whispered to herself, "He was the first boy I ever liked. I've been thinking about him constantly. I was so happy being with him, but somehow, the important people always end up leaving me." Takashi looked at her and said gently, "Yuri, it's me. I like you. I'm your true admirer. From the bottom of my heart, I'll never leave you." But Yuri couldn't accept his feelings just yet. She quietly walked away. Summer camp had begun, and while other students were enjoying themselves, Yano felt completely out of place. He was washing dishes, quietly keeping to himself. Yuri also came to help. He tripped and fell again. He didn't go to Yuri because he had firmly refused her help earlier. Seeing him like this broke Yuri's heart. She truly loved him, but their love story seemed unable to progress. The first day of camping passed. Other students had fun, but those whose hearts were heavy, like Yano, could not enjoy a moment. Yuri stayed awake, but her own heart felt withered. Nearby, a student girl whispered, "We heard that you and Yano are dating." Hearing this, Yuri's heart sank further. Her friends quickly tried to console her, ensuring she wouldn't spiral further into sadness. Meanwhile, Sammy approached Yuri and confessed, "In class, all of this is my fault. I was like a loner back in middle school, with no friends. The only person who ever spoke to me was kind, and now, because of me, someone as good as him had to go through so much." Yuri listened, touched, and replied, "Hey, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong." Finally, Yuri's misunderstanding cleared. She realized Yano hadn't meant to distance himself from her intentionally. Now, it was only a matter of time before Yano could come close again. On the second day of the camp, everyone was enjoying themselves, but Yano was still withdrawn. The one who once made her so happy was no longer beside her. As students wandered through the forest, Yuri's eyes caught sight of an old man. Searching for something, she couldn't leave him struggling alone. She walked over and asked kindly, "Uncle, what are you looking for?" He replied, "I lost one of my glasses. I'm just trying to find it." Yuri helped him, and the problem was solved. But a new challenge arose. Her mother's necklace, the one she always wore as a reminder of her mom, was missing. Meanwhile, Yano was sheltering from the rain. The storm grew stronger. All students gathered in the shelter, and Yano's eyes immediately searched for Yuri. Suddenly, someone mentioned that Yuri was missing. Panic struck Yano. Outside, in the pouring rain, Yuri was searching for the necklace. She had found part of it, but while doing so, she slipped and started sliding down the mountain. Yano realized he couldn't waste a second. Yano ran toward her, calling her name desperately. She was still alive but injured and unable to move. Yano grabbed a rope, preparing to descend. Yuri tried to stop him, warning him of the danger, but Yano wouldn't listen. He wrapped the rope around himself instead of securing it to a tree, showing his innocent, straightforward nature. The girl screamed, urging him to be careful. Yano struggled, his breathing heavy, but managed to reach her. Thanks to him, both were safe, though the rain had intensified and triggered minor landslides. Yuri's painful memories surfaced. She had lost her mother before, and now, the fear of losing Yano gripped her heart. But Yano had reached her in time. They hugged tightly. Yano whispered, "Sorry for hurting you. Please forgive me. I'll never stay away from you again. I want us to be close, like before." Yuri smiled, telling him, "You're not normal, but I'll say yes." Camp ended. Students returned home laughing and smiling. Next, we see the reunited lovers together. Yano spoke first, smiling. Remember, girls usually wait, but boys have to take the first step. Yuri froze, overwhelmed by his words and presence. Yano continued, now everything is normal. Today, nothing bad happened to me, and I wasn't injured. It feels like a miracle. My unlucky streak is finally ending. Thanks to you. Yuri's heart swelled with joy, and Yano laughed for the first time without fear. Friends, think about this. How was he considered so unlucky? Surviving a truck, falling off mountains, yet he always ended up in trouble. Yet somehow, he found love with the caring girl who stayed by his side through it all. If he still considered himself unlucky, maybe he should check into a mental hospital. And so, the story of the injured lover and the caring girl comes to a heartwarming close. Thank you so much for watching, and see you soon.